Yeah, okay, good evening, everyone. So we will be meeting, we will be gathering here on the same meeting place in the same Google Meet every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Uh, I'm requesting everyone to please mute themselves. Yeah. Okay, so we will quickly begin this session. So before we begin, I'll give my brief introduction. And what we will be doing in this session is we will be solving previous year's assignments. So as you all know, NPTEL questions have the format of following certain prescribed format for all the assignments and the exams also. So your last year's assignments will be very similar to your current year's assignment. So solving last year's assignment will be helpful even for solving current year's assignment, boosting up your score, and also the final exam. Yeah. So we will be solving previous run. So previous run was in the last year during the same semester August session. So we will be solving the last year August session runs assignments during this thing. So today I am going to solve week 1 assignment with you. So I am not going to solve, together we will be solving. And while solving, we'll be touching upon all the topics which are covered in this week's lecture, week one's lecture by Professor Ramkumar Rajendran in his video lectures. And if there are any doubts, we will try to clarify, we'll try to solve our doubts together. So before we begin, let me tell you about me. My name is Indrayani. I'm PhD research scholar in interdisciplinary program in educational technology at IIT Bombay. I'm also PMRF fellow. So these sessions I'm conducting are part of my PMRF external teaching duties. So my research interest is learning analytics, obviously, and my work is focused on analyzing learners' log data while they are interacting or they are trying to learn in a computer-based learning environment where we are trying to learn and teach the Python introductory Python course. I collect students' log data and try to analyze that log data to gain some insights about the learning processes which students are following, what learning path they are taking, and so on. I have done previous TA-ships for NPTEL for demystifying networking, software conceptual design, along with the joy of computing using Python. So that I have not mentioned, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, so these are my email IDs. So if you have any doubts or if you want to connect offline with me, this is my email ID. I will be sharing my YouTube channel link in the chat box. I will be uploading screen recording of these weekly sessions on the YouTube channel also as soon as we are done with this session. So it will be done before every Wednesday. Like we'll be having the session on Tuesday and I'll be uploading the recording on every Wednesday. So in case you're missing any session or if you want to revisit some questions how we have solved or some topics which we are discussing, which we are going to discuss in this session, then you can refer to the screen recording also. Which will be uploaded on YouTube. So we will be meeting every Tuesday at 7 p.m. The link is same link we will be admitting for all the 12 weeks. Yeah, and we will be solving the previous year's assignment. Okay, so there are some rules which we can follow, but since I don't think so that is required because I can see only 20 participants, so there's no need to strictly type in the chat box. You can raise your hand. I will notice obviously the raise hand, and you can unmute and we can talk. That way we can make the session more interactive. So ignore the last part. We will be making the session more interactive because we are very few people, so we can talk. No need to strictly use the chat box. So before we begin, shall we start, or we should wait for some more time? There are currently 22 participants, and out of 22 I'm two participant, like one from my laptop and one from my tablet. So we are 20 people joined in this session. So should we wait? Are there any friends or colleagues who will be joining, so we can wait for a couple of minutes for them? Or else we can begin. So either you can if you want me to begin, you can raise your hands or type in the chat box. Anyways is good. Okay, great. I have one hand raised. So okay, great. So yeah, I will be recording. So yes. So we will be, yes, sure. Yeah. So let's begin. So this was the question 1 in last year's assignment. So I know we have assignment 0 also for this course, and assignment 0 actually is not graded, but it is to give you an idea about what little background knowledge or what little words in the background which we will be using to understand the theory behind learning analytics techniques. Because we will be using a little bit of statistical techniques like regression, linear regression, some ML methods, introductory ML methods. So we don't need to understand entirely how the ML algorithm works, but some basics of feature engineering is needed. Some basics of some statistical understanding of some statistical models is needed. So for that, there will be an assignment 0 in which you will be asked some questions. So those assignments were not graded, but it was to give you an idea as in what we all will be venturing into. Yeah. So that is generally mostly focused on some questions on basics of statistics, which we do in some 10 standard, 11 standard. So it's not really a prerequisite that you should know. And many of the concepts will be covered in the recorded lectures also. Yeah. So and whenever please feel free to raise your hands and unmute when we are discussing. Let this session be as much interactive as possible. Let it not be just me talking all the time, because we have more than 1 hour at our hand. The slot spans for more than 1 hour, so we have plenty of time to have a nice interactive sessions or discussion based sessions also. Yeah. So let's start with question 1. So choose the best options that indicate learning analytics. So I assume that all of you have watched the week 1 lectures. So if you have not watched, you can raise your hands. If you have watched, then no need to raise hands. Okay, so just one person who has not watched. Okay, fine. Okay, so we have got 2 hand raise. So that means majority of us are here after we have watched the week 1 lectures. So those who have watched the week 1 lecture, can we discuss this? What do you think is the best option that will indicate the meaning of learning analytics? What learning analytics actually means? Okay, so we have one option in the chat box as B. So Bijoy ji, you want to unmute and say why you think B is the best option to describe learning analytics? Let's make this interactive. So we all, yes, Bijoy ji, I'm asking you to unmute and please speak that why you feel B is the best option. Yeah, please go ahead.
I think there are 2 possible candidates. B, between B and C, B seems to be closer to the.
Okay, so you feel both options B and C seem to be closest to D, huh?
D, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, possible candidates.
Okay, B and D. Okay, so anyone for option A? Option A says learning analytics involves the process of applying analytic techniques to support the operational decision making of the educational institutes. So anyone thinks that it is the best option to indicate the meaning of or pertaining to learning analytics? We have Bijoy ji saying he wants to go with option B and option D.
Option B.
Option B.
Option B, yeah.
Okay. So we have Rakshit ji saying option A and B. So let me read out option B aloud for those who might not have access or who might not be able to see the screen and read the options themselves. Okay. So I'm going to read out all the options. Option B says learning analytics involves process of applying analytic techniques to support the achievement of specific learning goals. Option C says learning analytics is primarily focused on the business of educational institutions. And option D says primary stakeholder of learning analytics are learners and instructors. Yeah. So we have some 4-5 answers, and almost all the answers have option B as one of their answers. Yeah. So what learning analytics is, we will just try to divide the two words, learning and analytics. So we all are really well versed nowadays about data analytics or the word analysis or analytics. Yeah, so it has the same meaning. You analyze the data, uh, you try to make sense out of whatever data you have. Is analytics in layman's language, in our day-to-day language, what analytics means is we try to make sense out of data. We try data is just, the best example of data being the Lego bricks. When there are loose, it is like you have certain data, but when you build some models out of it, when you build a car or a house model out of those Lego bricks, then that gives you some sense of inference that, okay, this all these bricks, when we join together, we get a car or we get a house. So similarly, the data, whether it is learners data or customers data for an e-commerce website, or a site like Netflix or YouTube, or Amazon Prime videos, where all the consumer data. So those are the bricks. And what analytics tells us is, when we process that raw data to gain some inference about how the learners are behaving, what they are watching, what they are shopping, what they are buying, that will give us some insights about the learners or consumers. Yeah, so similarly, learning analytics primarily deals with learners data. So learner is just a teaching learning process. A learner is a student, and in our setup, it is like teacher and a learner. So these are all stakeholders of the data, or stakeholders of our involved parties. So we can say that they are stakeholders, teachers and learners, and not just teachers and students, but when we are collecting data from a classroom setting, then the college, the institution, is also one of the stakeholders, since they are the one who are facilitating this teaching and learning process. Yeah, so these are the basics of the terms which we are using here. The stakeholders, educational institutions, and learning goals. So learning goals are what the target goals which we want to achieve while we are teaching. So there are a set of learning objectives. So learning objectives, learning goals are what we want our learners or what we want our students to achieve as a teachers. And for students, the learning goals are what they should be able to do, or what they want to achieve at the end of the lesson or at the end of the course, are learning goals. Yeah. So now, what do you think is the best option? Like we all agree for the B, option B. Okay, yes, it is. It involves the
option B and D.
Option B and D seems to be best.
Yeah, B.
Yeah, so we have some answer change. So this was okay. So V and Balaji had said B and D. Okay, Rakshit had said option A and B. So Rakshit ji, do you still agree that option A is the best suited? And Sujay also. Sujay ji, you have also mentioned option A. So after listening to this all explanation, you think that option A is still the best explanation, or you want to change your answers? Yeah, so most of us, I'm gonna not wait for their answers. They can type in the chat box. So okay, so learning analytics actually is not meant for any management or managerial decisions for educational institutions. But we are, am I not audible? I can see
Yes.
I'm audible, right?
Very good.
So Ketki ji, there might be some problem from your end. Let me type in the chat box. She cannot hear me. Okay, great. So I'm gonna keep talking. Okay. What we want to achieve at the end of learning analytics is, we want to understand how learner is learning, whether we are able to achieve the learning goal or the learning objective which we have set for ourselves as teachers or as students. And yeah, so that's why the educational institution who generally are interested in more commercial gains, so that is not really a active stakeholder in our process. They will be just there, they can use the data, but our main objective is not making our existing data useful to them. Our objective is learner centric meaning we want to make this process better for learners. Which process? The teaching learning process. We want to improve the teaching learning process better. And in order to improve the teaching learning process, the administrative decisions which educational institutes are making or doing will not play any active role. Yeah, so that's why option A is not the best option to indicate the learning analytics. But as yes, option B. Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
Vijay.
that is perhaps academic analysis.
Yes.
The focus is academic analysis. Yes.
Yes, I agree completely with you. Yes, yes. So our focus is basically only the learners and the teachers. Yeah. So option B is the best suited. We all are agreeing that option B, there is no argument or no discussion regarding option B, that we want to use learning analytics techniques to support the achievement of specific learning goals. Option C is that learning analytics is, yes, absolutely, Richard, the same thing which Bijoyji is saying. Yeah, that's what you are telling, that it is academic analytics which is separate, which is different from learning analytics. Yeah, so the process of learning analytics is very much learner centric, the learning process centric. For us, the process of learning is important and not the decision making of educational institutions and their profit or commercial gains, right? And so option C is also not the valid or not the best description of learning analytics. Now let's come to option D. Primary stakeholders of learning analytics are learners and instructors. So do we agree with option D? Learners are students and instructors are teachers. Yeah, so these are the different words which we will be using in this course interchangeably. Yeah, our students, we will call them learners, and our teachers will be instructors. Yeah, so do you agree that these teachers and instructors will be, the learners and students will be the primary stakeholders, the prime stakeholders of the process? Yeah, so now what do you think, what will be the answer? There could be more than one multiple answers also, okay, for this question. Yes, absolutely, B and D. Yes, correct. Yeah, so both option B and option D are the correct answers for this question. Yeah. So do we have any discussion points apart from that academic analysis, because we had enough discussion during all the options? Shall we move on to question 2? Yeah, let's go ahead. Somehow my this thing tab refuses to go to next question. So let me mark option B and option D as correct questions. Yeah? So let's go to question 2. Question 2 says, which of the following is or are, so there could be more than one correct answers to this question as well. Yeah? Which of the followings are used in descriptive analytics? Yeah? So I'm going to wait for your answers. So I've got the first answer in the chat box. You can unmute and talk as well. I don't have any problem because we have very few people.
Ma'am, we can, it could be bar charts.
Yes, it could be bar chart.
And even we can go with the line graphs also.
Yes, absolutely. So you think both option A and D seem to be correct answer, yeah? In the chat box also I'm getting option A and D mostly. Oh, I have got option B also in the chat box. Interesting. Let's discuss what is in option B. Because mostly everyone is saying A and D, and I have couple of people saying option B. Okay, yeah. So option B says regression analysis. So can someone unmute and tell me what is regression analysis?
Ma'am, regression analysis, basically it's a predictive model.
Okay, yes.
There is an independent variable and there are dependent variables. Now you have to strike out a correlation between the dependent variable and the independent variable by the equation y is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 into x1 plus beta 2 into x2 and so on and so forth. Now, when you take out the output in Excel, there's something known as correlation coefficient, which gives out the equation y is equal to mx plus c.
Yes.
Now, once you place those variables, then it gives you a model which fits into this equation. Now, this is a predictive model.
Yes.
But this predictive model depends on various factors. That is, firstly, what's the data set? In case the data changes, the predictive model will also change.
Yes.
Then you have to also correlate with your p-value and your degree of probability of 95% or beyond, that is 0.05 or 0.01.
Yes, the famous 0.05 p. Yeah. So for others who are not really well versed with the statistical methods, the simple example is in the school. You remember we studied the graph, plotting it in the line. There used to be a points, and we were asked to plot the graphs, and we have to draw the line. Do you remember that exercise which we did in school? There used to be some x and y coordinates, a set of points given to us, and we were asked that plot this graph and best fit wala line draw karo. There used to be a question in school, and mostly in the beginning of the high school we had this exercise. So that thing is nothing but regression analysis, and this is exactly what now Kaushik ji explained. The best fit, the model, the equation y is equal to mx plus c. So that's, as he pointed out, that's the prediction model. When we have all the data points and when we have the model in place, that is the equation, the best fit equation in place, then based on that model or the trend which that data is following, we can predict some variable y based on the data point of x which we have. What will be the value of y for certain value of x? Yeah. So it's a predictive analytic method. It is not descriptive analytics method. Yeah. So what descriptive analytics is, we simply describe the data. Yes, I am coming to pattern mining also. First, let me explain what is descriptive analytics, then we will go to pattern mining. Yeah? So what descriptive analytics is, what descriptive analytics is basically description of the data set, what data we have. What are different data. So if we have, like, say for simple example, we have the exam performance data for all the students. So we have students' roll number, we have their marks which they have gotten in their end sem exam or mid sem exams. So we can basically plot a bar chart or a histogram based on their distribution, or the line graph based on their marks and their names. We can have their student roll number, corresponding marks we can plot. Yeah. So this is how we are describing the data for them. Yeah. So now coming to the doubt which I am getting in the chat. So pattern mining is diagnostic or predictive. That's the one doubt which I have. And then other doubt is regression line is also used to get the idea of pattern mining and process mining. So Daniel, are you implying that process mining is also used to get the idea for the trend? I did not get the doubt or the question which you are asking. Can you unmute and ask or elaborate in the chat box, whichever you are comfortable with? Okay, regression line is used to get the idea of the trend. Yes, that is exactly what regression analysis does. Is it will give us the trend or the model which the data is following. Yeah. So we are not describing the data there. Yeah, we are in no way telling what our data is. In fact, what we are trying to do is we are trying to fit see the same example which I gave you. We have lots of Lego blocks, and we want to see what can be made out of those Lego blocks. So when we are making a car, or when we are making the house, that means we are trying to fit in that data into that model of Legos, like the car or the house. Yeah. So we are not really describing that data, but we are trying to infer that data, or we are trying to paint a picture out of that data, whereas that data or that picture will give us some idea about the future, the trend which they are following. So when we have some so that we can predict some variables of the data ahead of time, so that we can act proactively, we can react proactively to that data. So that means, see, for example, we have found out that students' marks, they depend on various factors such as their assignment score, their attendance, yeah, and their mid-sem exam, the final result, final score in any subject, that will depend on, say, these three variables, their attendance, their assignment marks, and their mid-semester marks. Yeah. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to fit these three variables into some kind of pattern, some kind of equation, so that we can predict the final y variable, which will be the final marks of our students. Yeah, so that's what we call trend. So that is used to predict the final marks based on what data we have right now. So before they write their final exam, can we predict their marks and see which students are at risk, and then decide our course of action accordingly? That's why it is used. It is called predictive analytics method. Okay, so now I'm moving on to what exactly pattern mining is. So as the name standard, okay, so Daniel has some point to make. He's saying, but when you consider standard data, your explanation seems correct, but the time series data, trend is a component. Yes, of course trend is component, and for time series, this is what I'm coming to. So pattern mining is very time sensitive or time series sensitive method. Yeah, so even for log data, which is a time series data, the regression analysis can work for some variables like marks, or when we are trying to predict their scores for any computer based learning environment or technology enhanced learning environment. So for that, regression can work better. But what if we want to, based on their actions, we want to derive some pattern or some trend? Then at that time, pattern mining comes into picture. So what pattern mining does is, let me just write down. So pattern, it is like, this is student 1 is performing action A. Yeah, student 2, action A would be login into system, and this is student 2 is also performing action A, which is login into system. After logging in, student 1 goes to topic D. Yeah, and student 2 goes to, sorry, yeah, let student go to some different topic. Yeah, so student 2 goes to topic C. Yeah, so there are different set of actions which these students are performing after logging in. Yeah, so pattern mining works on log data or actions which students are performing. So it is not compulsory that we used log data only. We can record their actions in a classroom and then use that for deriving any patterns in actions that, so general pattern is like you go through the topic A and then you solve the quiz based on topic A. Yeah, the same topic which you are going which you are going through, the same topic you want to solve the assessment for. That's the general pattern which is observed. But what if there are some students who are following different patterns? Like they are firstly they are going through all the content and then they are solving all the quiz. Yeah, so these are different behavioral actions or some different patterns of actions which they are coming up with. Yes, we can roughly say, Kaushik ji, that pattern mining focuses on behavioral and actions pattern. So I'll give you an example where use of pattern mining makes more sense. So if we know that there are two groups of students, so we calculate the learning gain based on their pre-test and post-test, right? So everyone is well aware of the concept of pre-test and post-test, I'm assuming. So like their difference will give us the learning gain. So we have the standardized learning gain, and based on that learning gain, we know that some students have learned topics in a better way compared to other students. So we have two groups, high learners and low learners. Yeah, so let me remove this and write high learners and low learners here. Yeah, so we have two groups, high learners and low learners. Yeah, so there could be different set of actions which will be performed, or different behavior which will be exhibited by students who have better learning, that is high learner, compared to low learners, students who have displayed very little learning out of our intervention or out of our teaching session. Yeah, so they have different set of actions. That may be because of attention, that may be because of their prior knowledge, there could be many reasons. But we want to see if their action, the pattern of their actions is different or not. So what we will do is, we know the actions which they have performed, we have their log data, and now we will try to mine for the frequent actions, the sequential actions, not just any frequent actions, but it considers the sequence of action. And it is sequential analysis, it is time series data, time sensitive data. So pattern mining techniques doesn't only consider the action which they are performing, but along with the timestamp which is associated with that particular action. So if you're not understanding this pattern mining now, there is one entire lecture which will be dedicated for pattern mining. Yeah. So if you're not getting this entirely now, don't worry. There will be upcoming weeks will have lectures focusing on what exactly is pattern mining and how it is performed. Okay. So don't worry. Right now I'm just trying to give you an overview. So what pattern mining does is it will give us the patterns of the actions, like action A, action B is performed some n number of times, yeah, and then action C to action D is performed n2 number of times. This is n1, this is n2 number of times. Similarly, low performs action A to D, this performs n3 number of times, and action D to action C is performed some n4 number of times. No, so we'll have the count, and based on this count, based on the relative frequency of these patterns or this thing, there's a graph is generated or a table is generated. Yeah, so that's how this pattern mining technique works. It gives us some insights about behavior, and it works better if we have two groups of learners to compare with. Yeah, so I have one question in the chat. Do marks always suggest learning achieved by the students? So Kaushik ji, this is very important question, you know. So as teacher or as people working in educational domain, we know that assessment is not the foolproof way to measure learners' mastery or learners' knowledge. So obviously marks are not the what you can say, the perfect way to measure or the only way to measure students' achievement or students' mastery in particular topic, but it is one of the ways in which you can measure. So generally marks are associated with the assessment. So assessment can be subjective, it could be, you know, there are different biases involved when a person is assessing a particular assignment or a particular question paper, answer sheet is assessed by a person, the marks which I will be giving may be different from the marks which you are giving. So when in-person assessment is there, then we have this biases and etc. playing role. But what if there is a computer based, like there is only one MCQs type of question, like we have in NPTEL portal, there are MCQs and for which there is only one correct answers or two correct answers out of 4 options. So in that case, marks is one of the best way to measure the learning achieved by the students, you know, in that scenario. So in classroom setting, marks may not be the best options to measure the learning achievements or the learning outcomes, but in MCQs type of scenario where there is only one answer correct, and yeah, again it all depends on how we are using Bloom's taxonomy. You know, if there are simply recall level questions, then it will not be measuring the learning achievements or learning outcomes completely, the learning goals which we have completely, you know. But you know, so it's very complicated question, you know. Marks always suggest the learning you know, the learning achieved by learners, but it is one of the widely accepted measure, because we can quantify students' learning based on marks. Otherwise there is no way for us to quantify if student has learned something or if student is good at something. There is no way where we can measure that. So it's not the best, but it is suitable measure, or it is easily achievable, attainable measure, and it can be quantified easily, and that usage of quantity that gives us the ease of analysis for, you know, further data. So it's one of the data point. Marks is not the foolproof or the complete measure of students' achievement, I would say. Yeah. So for this question, let's conclude this question and move on to next, because it's already half an hour and we have just finished 2 questions. Okay. So the correct answer is line graphs and bar charts. Yeah. Yeah. So let's move on to question 3. Which of the following and one more request, please don't call me ma'am, I'm just a PhD student, I'm not a teacher or I'm not an instructor, so please don't call me ma'am, you can call me by my name. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll read out the question 3. Which of the following questions are type of predictive analytics? Okay, so we had very brief discussion about predictive analysis. So I think we can guess about A, B, C, D, you know. So irrespective of whether you have watched the watched the
B
videos
and
or
C.
not.
B and C.
B and C, you say. Okay, I'll read out the options first for benefit of everyone, and then so we have one option. I'm gonna write. Sorry, B. You said, right? B and C. I'm gonna write here B and C. So count as 1. Okay, so I'm gonna read all the options.
B and C, ma'am.
Okay, so we have 2. What is the average score for all students in CBSE 10th maths exam? Option B, what will be the performance of a student in next question? Option C, which courses will student take in the next semester? And option D is, what is the average attendance of the class over the semester? So in the chat box also I have got 2 option B and C. Yeah, so B and C, future, yes, absolutely, future forecasting type are generally predictive analytics. Okay, so can someone, so we all seem to agree that option B and C are the example of predictive analytics. So what is option A? What do you think is option A? Which type of analytics is option A? What is the average score for all students in CBSE 10th? Descriptive, yes, I'm getting good. So our discussion was fruitful. It is absolutely descriptive. Yeah, and option D, what is the average attendance of the class over semester?
Descriptive only.
Again, descriptive, right? Yeah. So that seems. So maybe since we are very few people, from next week onwards, let's have this. I will change the format of interaction. Let's make it more interactive. You know, it's like just let us make it interaction based and discussion based. You know, not just solving the set of questions together. Let's have nice discussions based on the topics covered. I'll make a list of topics covered in that week, and we will just pick up the words and try discussing. Okay, so for today we will solve all the 10 questions, and we will, as the words are coming, we will discuss that. But from next lecture onwards, we'll change the format, you know, from next week. Yes, I have seen one hand raise. You can unmute and talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ma'am, just want to say one thing on this. If you bring some kind of questions like this or a business related questions in which we can utilize this in our day-to-day working life, it would be great help for us also, because then the concept would be more clear and it would be very easy to understand those things, people who are from a non-techie backgrounds. So now this is analytics which I have done maths, it's been long time, so it would be very easy for me to understand, and the way you're expressing is very nice. So that's just a suggestion that if you bring those conceptual also plus these kind of questions, ma'am.
Okay. So you want me to go through the concepts which will be covered in that week also as well?
Yes, ma'am. Just a little bit of discussion that would be
Okay.
fine enough, because any which ways we are doing that course already.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you can relate some examples, real based examples on that,
Yeah,
it would
that's
be
a
more
good
clarity.
suggestion. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. So since my PhD work is also in learning analytics, so we can always, I can always give real life example of I can connect the way I'm using different techniques in my PhD work. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes, that would be
let's
great
follow
support.
that. Yeah, good suggestions. Thank you. Yeah, we'll try to follow that from next week. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
now also, yeah, while talking, I'll try to give inferences from my PhD also, like my work also. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to question. Question says learning analytics involves. Option A says measurement and collection of data. Option B is understanding the behavior of learners. Option C is reporting the findings to the stakeholders. And option D is helping administrators increase admissions.
B and C, madam.
B and C.
B
Okay.
and C.
Okay.
Ma'am, B.
Okay. So everyone says it's B.
B and C is answer.
B and C. Okay. So yeah. So my hunch is also there are multiple correct answers for these questions. You know, there is not just one correct answer. There are more than one correct answers. Yeah, so we'll try to decipher every options, because there is no agreement on like a majority agreement, because in chat also I see multiple multiple, you know, ABC only B, A and B. So there is no consensus on which is correct answer. So let's try to read all the options and try to understand. Okay. Option A says measurement and collection of data. Yeah. So what do you think is data collection for learning analytics? Say in a classroom setting, I am teaching and we have a classroom, so there's some n number of students attending the class, and if I want to perform learning analytics, what will be the step 1? Yeah, as Dr. Richard has mentioned in chat box, is the basis of analytics. What should be the basis, from where, what should be the starting point of my analysis?
To collect the data.
Yes, collect the data. Yeah, so how I will get the insight, you know, the collecting insights about learners is one of the yeah, in the chat box it's one of the response. Okay, so how will I get that insight? To gain that insight, I need to observe and collect the data. So I'll give you a simple example of a classroom. I'm teaching in a classroom. Right now, I'm not able to see your faces or your facial expressions at all, because all the videos are off, and I'm not able to see if what I'm talking is making sense to you. So the easiest way when we are teaching is how we understand if what we are talking is making sense to other person is by observing their facial expressions, right? When somebody is understanding, they will nod. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm agreeing, or they will nod like this, no, I don't agree with this point. Yeah, so that's the easiest way, that we observe and we note, we make a mental note. Even if we are not sitting with pen and paper, we make a mental note. Okay, this particular point has not been understood by this person, let me repeat or let me rephrase it. So in our setting, when I was explaining pattern mining, so pattern mining on day 1, it's very difficult to understand for a non-technical person who has not done, or who has not done any kind of database. You know, those who come with computer science background and who have done some DBMS, then they would understand. It would make sense, inherently make sense to them what is pattern mining, you know. So because data mining mein there are concepts which are where we are mining for different patterns through the data, but for people who are from non-CS background, for them it would be difficult to understand, it would be difficult to grasp. So how I was making sense that okay, I need to explain more, by observing the chat box, by making note of the questions which are asked in the chat box. So in a way, I was mentally collecting the data and I was trying to draw inferences from that data which I was getting through the chat box. So whether it is log data, which we are using for any technology enhanced learning environment, you know, the logging mechanism which logs all the actions which learner is performing in that environment, the clicks which learner is performing, or the data he or she is typing, that is one way to collect the data. But what in the classroom setting is making note of attendance, how actively they are participating, what is their attention, whether they are looking, where they are looking. So all these points we need to note, we need to understand. Yeah, so that for any type of analytics, that's the first step, is how we will be collecting the data, how we will be measuring different parameters. So when it comes to the parameters like attention or their emotional state, their expressions, so that needs to be connected to some quantifiable measure when we are correcting, or that needs to be mapped to something. So that thing, that mapping or that thing is measurement. So it's not just measuring marks or measuring attendance, but other things also, other aspects also. So for measuring some aspects like attention, we have different questionnaires in place where students will tell that how they are feeling for a particular subject, how much attention they have given to a particular subject. So there are different ways to collect the data and to measure that data. You know that their answer to different questions will not give you percentage. Okay, they were paying 50% attention, they were paying 40% attention. No, we have to like classify them based on their responses into different categories. Likewise, you know, so that is measurement and collection data. Yeah. So yes, this is I have a response in the chat which says quiz in the end of the class. Yes, it is also a way of measuring something. So that something could be whether they have understood or not, what is the mastery level achieved by our learners at the end of the class. Yeah, so that how you will measure that and how you will collect that data is by giving them the quiz. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So that forms the basis of the analysis, that we need to measure some different parameters, and we need to quantify them, we need to note them, we need to collect them. Yeah? So option B is understanding the behavior of learners. So yeah, option B was, I think, widely agreed upon. Yeah, I have one response which says only B. So yeah, we all agree that option B has to be the answer, one of the answers. Okay, so option A is also the answer, option B is also the answer. Now let's see option C. Option C says reporting the finding to the stakeholder. Yeah, so how we are performing the learning analytics is we need to somewhere document it. Yeah, because while teaching, we are making observations, we are modifying our way of teaching, we are changing the way we are teaching, either we are rephrasing our ways, or we are using different tools while teaching if the students are not understanding. Yeah, so that is one of the way of inferring our data. But what if we have to tell that a particular way of teaching works better compared to other? So that way we need to have some report, or somewhere we need to note down the findings, and we need to present it to the stakeholders. We need to tell that to the students also and to other stakeholders also. So here, so Kaushik ji, here is stakeholder can be teacher also. So take stakeholder there. So in our system, the education system, it could be, this system has teachers, it has students, all the parties involved will be stakeholders. Like, so this thing happens in educational institutions, right? So institutions are also one of the stakeholders in learning analytics. So in our case, since this interaction is happening via NPTEL, so this interaction may one of the stakeholders is NPTEL as well. Yeah, so when we will be collecting the data, so if I decide to collect the data, or even NPTEL can decide to collect the data from this particular meeting, so then they can also draw inferences based on the data, whether this doubt solving session is successful or not. So they will have their own set of measurements, they will have their own pre-decided parameters, and they will be quantifying the information through this recording, or through this meeting, that how many questions were solved, how many doubts were asked, whether this live session was useful or not. So they will have quantifying, they would quantify, or they would rate on different parameters, and based on that they would infer, or they would make some conclusion whether this live problem solving session is useful, whether they should continue it for 12 weeks or whether they should discontinue it. So that decision making will be there. It could be like, this analysis could be used for decision making also. Yeah, so this process of documenting and reporting our findings, to make inference or to decide the future action, is also equally important in learning analytics. Yeah, so all these steps, you can't say that reporting or inferring from the analytics is not as important as performing the various analysis techniques. No, all these steps are equally important. We need to close the loop. When we are raising some questions which we want to solve using learning analytics, we want to use the answers to solve that questions as well, right? So we call it closing the loop. So for closing the loops, this reporting, finding, the inferring from that from that analysis is also important. Now option D, does anyone says that option D is also one of the answers, helping administrators increase their admission? Because I did not see option D in any of the chat box responses. It was all A, B, C, and only A, only B kind of thing. Yes, absolutely. D is about business and academic analytics and not the learning analytics. So yeah, we all agree. Yes, you can unmute here.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, just want to confirm that as we can see, C and D is more towards academic analytics, correct? Mm-hmm. So now we know that learning analytics is a bit different from academic analytics. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about learning analytics, do we really need to inculcate C and D point? So because those are more towards academic analytics.
Yeah. So I will say D is definitely academic analytics, because that will have some more from administration point of view. Yeah, and not from the teaching. It doesn't involve teaching learning process, right? The achievement of learning outcomes. But if you carefully examine the option C, it says reporting the findings to the stakeholders. So what are these stakeholders? So stakeholders can be teachers, it can be students, it can be institutions also, right? all the parties which are involved in teaching learning process. Yeah.
So can we say that stakeholder in case of teachers and students could be learning analytic, but in case of institution it could be academic analytics?
You can say that, but somewhere even institutions would be interested in teaching learning, right? So I gave you example of NPTEL, how successful these meetings,
Correct.
should they continue this meeting or not? So that decision will be solely taken up by the institutions, even though it is related to teaching learning process. But it is not in our hand to start these live sessions or to end the live sessions at our will. Okay, we will do it only for week 1 and then for rest of the 11 weeks we will not do. Yeah, so in that process, even though it is teaching learning related, it is in institution's hand. So I mean, yeah,
Yes.
you have to think, read carefully, interpret the English in the options, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why I would say option C is also correct if you think from when more than one options are correct, then I think option C also makes sense.
We can also consider that reporting means a kind of the way we present the data also to the management and people.
Also to the management also, and even the teachers and students are also stakeholders. When we say stakeholders, there are learners, instructors, everyone is stakeholders. So when you're reporting some findings to learners also and to fellow teachers also, say for example Moodle, let's take example of Moodle may every week we are uploading some quiz assignments, some reading materials for the students, and we want to see how many students are going through that material, how many students are solving the quiz, what is the performance in that quiz, the MCQ type, simple MCQ type, auto assessment, the auto graded quiz. So so all that data we have based on Moodle. So if we have some what you can say, some what is that, some dashboard for teachers, where they can see how many students are going through the quiz, or how many students are going through the learning material, etc. And there is a nice dashboard which will give some inference, so dashboard is nothing but a way of reporting the findings, right? Reporting the
Yes.
analytics finding. So teacher is one of the stakeholder, and teacher is going and looking at that this thing, the dashboard, the graphs, and how many students are spending, how much time they are spending on the Moodle, how many marks they are getting in that quiz. So that findings, that reporting will help teachers to make informed decision about their teaching for the upcoming week. If whether they need to give more or they can identify which topic may the score was less, so they can revisit the topic in the classroom again. Yeah, so that way this is important even for all the stakeholders. So when we say stakeholders, it is not just college management. Yeah, it is teachers and students as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so we'll move on to question 5. Yeah. Which of the following is not true about educational data mining? So now we have to be very careful with the English which we are reading, okay? Because the question is which is not true. Yeah. So option A is, it is the process of getting valuable insight from data. So it is true. Do we agree? Yes or no? If yes, then hand raise. If no, then no hand raise. Okay, I just got one. Okay, yeah, now it is making sense. Okay, we just have 2 hand raise, 3 hand raise. Okay. Yeah, so option A is true. So it will not be the answer. Okay. Option B says it includes validating learner model or hypothesis about learning of learners and data. Yeah, so even though this is now talking about model and hypothesis, but this is what we discussed when we were talking about regression model. Yeah, we want to fit some equation with the existing data which we have about the learners, and we try to make sense of that data, whether these dependent variable and independent variable, are they interacting, are they correlated, is there any correlation coefficient between them. So all these things will be part of this statement. It includes validating learner model or hypothesis which we have. Like hypothesis could be, if students are paying more attention, they will score more marks, or if students have more attendance in the classroom, they will have better performance in the end sem exam. That could be our hypothesis. and we can collect the data and form a learner model and with the existing data we need to test that model whether it is making sense or not. So that is called validation of the model. Okay, it makes sense, these are the independent variable which are causing the dependent variable, which is the performance in the NCM exam of the learners. Yeah. So I had one hand raised, so I just stopped talking thinking that okay, you can unmute and ask if you have any doubts. I forgot who had raised hands. I'm sorry. If the person who had raised hands, yeah. So if you have any doubts, please unmute and ask the doubts or type in the chat box. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, no worries. Okay, so we are. Yes, raising hand to agree it was true. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had that. Okay, if we think that it is true, then raise hand. That was the easiest way to measure, na, if you agree or not agree. Yeah. So option C was, it helps to make recommendations to the learners by analyzing the data. So can we use learning analytics to make recommendations to learners? So do you agree? Yeah, C is true. Yes. So yeah, I see many hands raised in agreement. So yes, obviously. So we discussed that how the Moodle dashboards for teachers can make teachers take more informed decisions about their teaching, and they can have recommendations about reading materials or some quizzes or certain topics to the learners. Okay, go through this topic XYZ. You did not perform well in that quiz, so you can go and revisit the concepts which were tested in that quiz. So likewise, we can make recommendations for in-person teaching also, and for technology enhanced learning environment also. So universally in any teaching learning environment, whether it is computer based or it is face-to-face teaching or it is teacher student teaching. So option C is also true. So option D says the major of the so I had like 2-3 responses that option D is focusing on marketing and business growth. So yes, educational data mining is to improve marketing strategy is absolutely not true for educational data mining. Yeah, educational data mining or learning analytics. Yeah, so option D is absolutely not true. So this is the correct answer. Yeah. So this was kind of easy after having such a long discussion on different topics. So now question 5 is, so yeah, we have question 3. Isn't EDM both for LA and AA? Yes. So educational data mining is used for both learning analytics also and academic analytics also. Yeah. So I have one more statement in the chat box. Though learning analytics is for students in educational institute, can corporates also use this analytics for their learning and development? So I am going to answer this with the example of, it is not a corporate environment, but it is very well-known environment. So have you all heard about Khan Academy? The Salman Khan, not the Salman Khan of Bollywood, but the Sal Khan of Hollywood. Yeah. So he runs so Khan Academy has it has used this learning analytics to personalize learning environment. So Khan Academy has a Khan Academy Kids app, which is focused for preschool kids, for age 3 to some 6-7 till for that age group. They have developed this app called Khan Academy Kids. So what does Khan Academy Kids does is, it will ask you to enter your kids' age, their name and all these things, and based on their age they will modify their content. Yeah? And it will log, it maintains a log for that user profile, what content they have gone through. It's a easier way to understand. They will have some alphabet tracing, they will have some drawing activity, they will have some word reading activity for age group 3 to 5. And they know the date of birth of your kid, so they know at what age the user is going to be, and they try to personalize that data which they are giving for the kids through that app. Yeah, so it is not a corporate thing, but it is using the learning data, which the interaction data, the way kid is interacting with the environment, what they are doing, with what element they have gone through. There will be different pages of that app, and what pages they have gone through. So they are maintaining a log of what all students have gone through, and that they are using to personalize the next content which they want to push for that particular user or for that particular kid. Yeah, so they are using this educational and learning analytics or educational data mining to give them better content, to give them recommendations. Yeah, so that is educational data mining. Another example of data mining being used for recommendations is our classic YouTube. If you go to YouTube and if you watch certain videos repeatedly, then you will get recommendations of related or similar videos. Yeah? So they are analyzing your data, they are performing some kind of data mining on your user interaction, what kind of videos you are watching, for how many minutes you are watching that video, and they will modify their recommendation. Your feed will be modified accordingly. Yeah, you will get the similar recommendations in that, but that will not be called as educational data mining because that data is not educational data. Yeah, so data mining per se is used everywhere. In every mobile apps, they will be asking for your permission that can we send your data for improvement of a app. So all that is data mining. They will use your log data, your interaction data, and they will try to use that to improve your recommendations. Even Facebook does that. You interact with certain types of post, you will be getting that type of post only in your feed. So data mining is universally used, but educational data mining will be focused on only educational environment or educational data. Another question I have: how may we use EDM in non-digital traditional learning and training? So for that, there are different ways. So we will be covering multimodal data analytics in the later part of the course. So in multimodal data analytics, the thing which comes at top of my mind is classroom recording, where we have CCTV cameras which are recording the classroom interactions. So we can do the object tracking using that recording. We can deduct facial expressions of the students. So that way, that data, that recording data, that video data will give us insights about different parameters, like their involvement or their attention, their interaction with different elements in the classroom, right? So that way we can use EDM techniques so that digitize the data collection. Of course, we can digitize the data collection and use the data mining techniques to analyze that data. For example, if you're logging daily attendance, then you have an Excel sheet of how many students are attending each day. That's a simple attendance will also give you different insights about their attendance and the marks. If you have one Excel sheet of attendance and marks, that can also use to perform different data mining. That can also use to gain insights about different things. Yeah. So in non-digital learning environments also we can use this data mining techniques. Another query was related to learning and development, which is an HR function. I may not be able to answer the HR related questions, Kaushik ji. I'm not sure if I'm the...
Can I answer this because I belong to an HR field?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So I believe that learning and development department itself is a department where we have to see the progress and the productivity of our employees. Correct. So for productivity of our employees, we really need to have a pre-training analysis and post-training analysis, that what segment of our employees or probably what department of our employees is required, what sort of training to improvise their productivity level.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a set of employees who require, let's say, Excel knowledge to work better, so we really need to impart that level of knowledge to them. So of course we could have that level of database with us, with an employees who are basically from which they are graduates or they are postgraduates. So what sort of skill development is required to encash their productivity or not. So we can use these kind of techniques.
Right. So in a way, if it is not, even though it is not a traditional teaching learning environment, but the setting is...
database, we can check that how these things can be measurable in terms of post or post-training analysis. That once the training is done, what is the productivity ratio? Is the performance is better or not? Is the training being given or imparted is better or not? So what would be their career development or enhancement or succession planning on that?
Okay, yeah. So it makes a complete sense that you are in a way measuring the learning gain which has happened after your training
Yes, ma'am.
in different
So a
words.
complete life cycle of an employee, right? So
Right.
once the company employees enters the organization, what sort of trainings the person requires to improvise their productivity level? Is it required or not required?
Right.
So that is one game. So if required, what sort of training? It's not mandatory. Every employee requires the same set of trainings.
We also have a good point in the chat. Also, performance analysis for the following week after training may be done. So yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am. So this is one of the point where performance analysis could be done. That what could be the performance on a kind of a training analysis.
Yeah. So now this discussion, since it is on universality of teaching learning and the prevalence of teaching learning processes in every field. So I think Dr. Richard was talking about from hospital point of view, and you have a different background. So we all are lifelong learners, irrespective of in which field we are, where we are actually teaching the traditional teacher or student role, whether we are in that role or whether we are corporate employee and a HR professional role, or a trainer and employee role, or we are in a hospital setup. So this teaching and learning is happening constantly, and we are being evaluated on different parameters where the performance analysis comes. So performance analysis is where we want to how we are performing. So we are being assessed. So again the marks wala concept come into picture, how well we are performing. So in traditional classroom settings, that is measured through marks, and in corporate setting or in hospital setting, that may be jargoned as performance analysis.
We have a different set of performance. One could be 360-degree measure, one could be MBO, one could be line, so one could be 180 degrees. So if I am a teacher, for example, so if my performance has to be measured, it has to be measured by my colleagues, by my students, by my supervisor, by my subordinates. So everybody whomsoever I am in touch with, so they will measure my performances. So what is my relation with them and how they are getting better results from me. So that's a 360-degree appraisal. So of course, corporate has a different set of parameters for those things. So somehow, somewhere, it is actually considered to be a learning environment. So glad that you have clarified that point also. Thank you.
So this will give us different, please, I'll request Dr. Richard also, and to you also, whenever you have such insights, please do share with all of us so that we can, place our learnings with a relatable example, since,
Sure.
So please, continue actively participating in these discussions, So it was a good digression. So we in learning sciences, this is called good digression, which is not really aligned with the discussion topic, but it will give us some learning, and a good learning, and it will overall improve our understanding of the topic. So this is called good digression.
And to also help us to see that what other exposures we could have in different fields as well.
Right.
So our exposure and our mind thought process would be more enhanced rather to see into different directions.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So let's move on, because we have just reached midway. There are 10 questions and we just solved 5 questions. So let's quickly, I think question 6 and 7 are very related, very similar. Yeah. So question 6 is, a course instructor has the last 5 years of data about students' attendance, their performance, their academic background and profile. She then reported this data using visuals like pie chart and developed a dashboard for other stakeholders. Yeah. So what type of analytics she is doing?
Descriptive.
Yes. I'm so sorry. There are 2 hand raised. Do you have any doubts to ask? I forgot to ask. Are there any doubts? No, right? Okay, fine. So almost everyone is saying descriptive analytics option A, which is the correct answer. So we will move on to question 7. Because
Okay, madam.
with diagrams and pie charts, line graphs, bar charts, these all are a way to describe the existing data. So mostly right now the dashboards are basically the descriptive thing, where we are not predicting anything, but we are giving the visuals about our learners or our teachers, how they are doing. Yeah, so that is part of descriptive analysis. So question 7 is, a teacher decided to conduct extra lectures, remedial content, before the final exam for the students who got less than 30% marks in the mid semester. What type of analytics she is doing?
Prescriptive.
Diagnostic.
Okay, we have multiple answers. Okay,
Prescriptive.
prescriptive you said, or descriptive? Option A or D? I'm sorry, I'm
D,
not...
D, D, yeah.
D, yeah. Okay, okay. Okay, so here there seems some confusion about option C or D. Okay, I have one question for C or D. Okay, I'm waiting for few more answers. Okay, fine. So let's start discussion. Okay, so what is happening here? So a teacher wants to make a decision whom to call for this thing, what you can say, whom to call for extra classes, remedial content, no? Whom to I mean, yeah, this is they have, so she has made a decision based on the fact of mid-semester marks. Yeah, so this is the deciding factor. So if they have scored less than 30%, then she said she would call them for remedial classes. So before doing what are the steps which she should follow is, firstly she should have the data which should consist of mid-semester marks and their roll numbers. Yeah, so roll number like 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, and then mid-sem marks. Say mid-semester exam was out of 25, say for example, so then 25, 15, 12, 10 and so on. So how she will identify? She has this student information. Let's say she has this table with her, she has this student information, and now she want to know how many students have less than 30 marks. That she has to calculate, right, before she can decide whom to call for remedial classes. So she will perform some analysis, and what she will do is she will calculate the percentage based on these marks, and she will filter the students who have less than 30%, and she will call them for extra classes.
Madam, these students are called as slow learners.
Yes, these students would be slow learners, and she would focus on the slow learners by making them revisions and all. So she would be performing some analysis, right? She would be converting this marks into percentage, and then she would be seeing if that percentage is less than 30%, right? So the classic, if we try to so teacher is not predicting final exam performance based on mid semester. She is not doing any kind of prediction. These are the mid-semester marks. Mid-semester marks mein she is calculating how many students have scored less than 30%, and she decides to call only those students who have scored less than 30%, whom will be calling slow learners. Yes, Suresh.
The objective is to conduct remedial lectures.
Yes,
to improvise the marks of the students. That's all. Nothing else.
That's all. Yes,
So,
absolutely. Thank you for making this
teacher
point.
is trying to diagnose. Diagnose means give some kind of a input so that the marks of the students get improved. That's all. Nothing else.
Okay.
There is no descriptive. There is no prediction. There is no prescriptive.
Okay.
Only choice that is there is B.
Okay, sorry to break you here. I agree with the entire thing. Only thing is that the diagnostic and prescriptive part. Okay, so since we have doctors and hospital people in our discussion, our classroom discussion, so let's take the patient and doctor example, because these are the words we can relate to the doctor-patient interaction, right? So when you go to doctor, I think that's the same example which is there in the videos also. When a patient goes to a doctor, they describe their symptoms. Based on those symptoms, doctor is making some diagnosis, right? Okay, so you have stomach ache, you have fever, you have vomited this n number of times. So based on this data, the description which patient is giving, they are trying to make their diagnosis. Yeah, they're trying to understand which students are slow learners that way, right? So this diagnosis is happening, like description we have like roll number and the mid semester marks. This information we have like roll number and the mid sem marks. Now diagnosis, in diagnosis phase, what is teacher doing is teacher is calculating which students have less than 30% mark, which students are slow learners. Yeah, but as Dr. Suresh pointed out, our goal is to provide the remedial content, nothing else. It doesn't matter how many students have scored less than 30% exam. What matters is we want to conduct some classes for the students who have scored less than 30%. So the process of filtering the data which will have less than 30% marks is, it's called diagnostic. But here the goal for this thing is to conduct the remedial classes. So that goal is part of prescribing the medicine to improve, to make the slow learners better, to help them achieve more marks in the final exam, because they could not perform well in the mid sem. So teacher is scared, or teacher thinks that they may not perform well in the end sem. So before the end sem exam, let me call them and make them revise all the topics. So that is part of prescriptive analytics. Yes, Dr. Richard has rightly pointed out, remedy is prescribing what we can do to avoid the undesirable effect. So here the undesirable effect will be low scoring, all the students being low learners. Yeah, so here the aim is to conduct extra classes. Yeah, so that conduction of extra classes is part of prescription. Yeah, yes, please go ahead, Khanna ji.
Ma'am, please correct me if I'm wrong. So as Dr. Suresh Holi sir said that, so the teacher decided to conduct extra lectures before the final exam. This could be diagnostic.
Yeah.
But as it is mentioned in the question that it is conducting
It
for
is not diagnosed.
less than 30% in the mid semester.
Yeah. So how you will diagnose is, okay, so let us again
That
consider
is
the,
could be prescriptive analysis, right?
so
Because
describe,
now it's a remedy, because she is very clear and she come up to a conclusion that people who, or students who score less than 30% in the marks in mid semester are the ones who have to go for again some kind of studies that
okay.
they get pass away. So how they will improve? They will improve by conducting extra lectures. So that's
Okay.
a prescriptive. But if we talk about diagnostic, so diagnostic remains until that, yes, teacher wants to conduct extra lectures because she wants to give some extra classes to the students as a whole, irrespective of 30% or not. That could be diagnostic.
No. So that is not diagnostic. So here, I think all the concepts are clear. Only I think the confusion is how,
Diagnostic.
how we reach,
Diagnostic
how we
means
reach
the
to,
reason, finding out the reason why these students have
Okay.
got less marks.
yeah.
Got it. Finding the reason basically.
Why it is happening, why the why question is answered by diagnostic, so that why question, like why there should be remedial classes, because students are scoring less than 30% marks also. So that means students don't even have that much learning, or that they have not achieved those many learning objectives to score more than 30%. So maybe not everybody needs a revision, but that revision, the remedial classes, should be focused on only those who are scoring less than 30%. So this process of filtering the students will be part of diagnostic analysis. And focusing on only those who are scoring less than 30% and conducting extra classes is part of prescriptive analytics.
Got
The
it.
act of prescription.
Ma'am, can it be possible that if we leave this question here and if we take another example in the same way, that as we mentioned that why we are conducting extra classes is actually diagnostic. Why? The reason is because 30% less students scored.
So
what
the
is
act
the-
of, okay, sorry to break you here, the act of conducting extra classes is not diagnostic analytics.
Yeah, but the reason is that because 30% students, there are students who have scored less than 30% marks in mid semester. That is the reason basically they are conducting the extra lectures. That's the reason why, right? On diagnostic.
Kind of. Okay, I'll explain again with different example. Okay, so now
I just want to take another example in the same way. So
In
can
the
we
similar
and
setting,
ask the same data that why student have scored 30% less? Those, let's say 10 students out of 100 class scored less than 30% marks. So what is the reason behind it that they have scored less than 30% marks? Is it that they are defocused? So finding that reason is also could be diagnostic.
Could be diagnostic, yes. Could be diagnostic, yes. So
I feel that these are levels starting from descriptive. I feel
Yes.
higher level of analysis will always have at least some part of lower levels.
Yes,
That is,
absolutely. When we want to build on higher levels, we have to
Yes.
build our base using the lower level of analytics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So base will be always there.
Mhm.
So end result here will be prescriptive, but
Yes.
there will be some sort of lower analysis also.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. So it all starts with describing our data. Everything starts with descriptive analytics phase. You describe the data, then you try to decipher or try to make sense of that data. With what are dependent variable, what are independent variable, you try to connect them, you try to understand which factor is affecting which factor, then you try to predict for based on these XYZ factor, can we predict some ABC factors, and based on our prediction, in order to avoid undesirable actions, can we have some scaffolds or some recommendation prescribed beforehand proactively, so that will become part of prescriptive analytics. Yeah, so we have some statements in the chat box which I'm going to read. So Dr. Anand Joshi makes an excellent point. He said to go prescriptive, instructor has to go by diagnostic predictive as well. So yes, we also had the similar discussion here, Dr. Joshi. Yeah. Then it is complete process in a sequences. Absolutely, I agree with you. It's a sequence, as Ketki ji also mentioned, that we have to, in order to reach to the top of the prescriptive analytics, we have to start from the basics or the level below, like descriptive, diagnostic and predictive as well. Yeah? Then Rakshit ji saying diagnostic is to find out the reasons and predictive is to how to solve them. Yes, absolutely. Diagnostic helps us to understand the process as a whole in a sequence. What are the different factors which are affecting which factors, and then prescriptive is how to solve the problem. And in order to help us solve the problem, what we should be able to do is we should be able to predict that this problem is going to happen. So proactively we can solve the problem before it happens. So that's where the predictive analytics comes into picture, and that's why it is placed before prescriptive analytics. Another is what has happened, why it has happened, and what can be done and what should be done. Yes, these questions are also important, and in this sequence, so the sequence is important. Like what has happened, descriptive analytics will tell us. Why it has happened, diagnostic analytics will tell us. And what is going to happen, predictive analytics can tell us. And what should be done, what can be done, prescriptive analytics will tell us. Yeah, so the answer is option D, prescriptive analytics. Any more discussion on this question?
No, madam. No, madam.
Okay. So we'll move on to next question. Now this is easy because we have been talking about the sequence of analytics and everything. So I think this question will be easier for everyone. So naive Bayes, SVM, and decision making, decision tree are some of the machine learning methods, ML methods, that can be applied to descriptive analytics, diagnostic, as you are saying, predictive analytics or prescriptive analytics. So everyone agrees it's predictive analytics, right? All the machine learning methods, we want to build a model to understand which factors are affecting which factors, and based on our existing data, can we predict some variables, whether it is one variables or a couple of variables, can we predict those variables based on the existing data? So these all machine learning algorithms are part of predictive analytics. Yeah. So question 9. The prescriptive analysis involves which of the following? I think we had brief discussion about this. What can be part of prescriptive analytics? So now this again should be discussion based. So first let me read out all the topics and then you can unmute and we can start discussing. Okay. So option A says scaffolding to help students to achieve the learning goal. Then B is personalization or intelligent learning environment. Option D is helping administrators increase admissions, and option D is measurement and collection of data. Yeah, so now we can start discussing. So in chat box I have two answers, option A and B, option A and B, option A and B. Okay, so anyone thinks otherwise apart from option A and B, or only option A, only option B, then we can have discussion on this. Otherwise we can move on to last question. Oh, Dr. Richard saying all of the above. Okay. This is interesting. Okay. Okay, may I ask why you think all of the above, option B, measurement and... So it is related to only prescriptive analytics. So when we say only prescriptive analytics, will the measurement and collection of the data be also actively part? We are just going to assume that it has happened. So even though we will start from there, but the actual prescriptive analytics, that the process, we will assume that we have data, and only then we can do the prescriptive analytics. So even though it is the starting point for any analysis, it doesn't like it doesn't actually like connects with this thing like prescriptive analytics, because it comes really at the end of it is at the end of the pyramid, it's the outer analytics, the outer the last one. So, and for descriptive we start with the measurement and collection of data. So option D is not really correct. Yeah, and option C is helping administrators increase their admissions. Then yeah, again it is more of since we are discussing academic analytics, so yeah, it's more of academic analytics from business point of view, from increasing the profit point of view. So yes, now you're A and B. So yeah, so A and B. Yeah, so everyone agrees A and B. We are personalizing, that means we are prescribing the things. Yes, Dr. Suresh, you have something to say? Yeah, I was just concluding this question. That scaffolding to help students achieve, or we can give personalized hints by predicting where student can go wrong, or where we can help them in performing better in any assessment. Yeah, so personalizing can be in different forms. It could be through giving them hints, or it could be giving particular questions pertaining to particular topics only. So all these things those things are part of personalization and making the learning environment intelligent. So option B is pertaining to digital learning environments or technology enhanced learning environments only, and option A could be for classroom environment, face-to-face teaching as well, and computer-based teaching as well. Yeah, so moving on to question 10. Yeah, so this is what we have been talking, which is the beginning, like the innermost circle, and then slowly we will move on to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. So we have been discussing this. So what do you
B
think?
is the right answer.
So, sorry, which
B
one?
is the right answer.
B, you're saying B. Yeah, everyone is saying B. Everyone in the chat box is saying B. It all starts with, so this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And we have to tell what is 1, 2, and 3, and everyone agrees that it's option B. Starts with descriptive, then the second step is diagnostic, then the third becomes predictive, and the fourth becomes prescriptive. Yeah, so option B, right? Descriptive, diagnostic, predictive. Yes, option B. Yeah, so I think we have reached at the end. Yeah, we have reached at the end. Do we have any more discussions or some more examples which anyone likes to discuss, like to share with everyone? Then we have some time. Yeah, prescriptive is final. Yeah, you can say prescriptive is final, because prescription would be our ultimate goal, right? Where the goal is to improve the teaching learning process, or to help learners achieve their learning outcomes better. So how we are going to achieve that? So our goal is to, okay, let me see if I have some space to write that. Yeah, there is some space, so I'm going to use this. Yeah, so the ultimate goal of the learning analytics process. Ultimate goal is to improve the teaching learning, right? Or to improve learning per se, what we can say is, learn. So this is the ultimate goal. So for one particular learning outcome, when you want to focus only one, then you will start with the cycle again, from descriptive. Then you will try to understand why a particular learning goal is not getting achieved, what are the factors which are impacting that. Then you will try to predict, and then using that point, where the failure is, or where the failure is going to happen, or where the wrong answer is going to be there by a particular learner, then before that happens, you will be prescribing to avoid such incidences, which will be taking your learners towards non-achievement of certain goals. Yeah. So for that particular learning objective, you are identifying the instances which will be taking your learner away from the learning goal. And in order for that not to happen, you will prescribe, or you will make some personalized hints or some personalized recommendation to the learner to avoid happening of that particular undesirable instances, which you will be identifying using predictive analysis. So this will be for that particular one instance. But in our teaching learning, there would be multiple such instances, right, which will be digressing learner from the desired learning path. So this process will be going on continuously for every learning outcome, for every instance. So our learning analytics will not be ending at the prescription. Yeah. But our ultimate goal is prescriptive analytics. Yeah. Ultimate goal is prescriptive analytics. From that point of view, I'm saying that we want to improve the learning outcome. So how we can improve is we will identify where a learner is going wrong, and we will try to save the learner, or we'll try to make the learner not to take that path. Yeah. So that was from my side. I hope I was able to answer that we don't stop at prescriptive. It's an ongoing process. But for a particular point in a technology enhanced learning environment, it would be, for that one particular point in the interaction, for that one particular topic, or not topic, for that one particular point in the learning path, we could be that thing. Yes, you have doubt. I see one raise hand. You can unmute and talk.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not going to doubt, but I just want to have one clarity here. Just have a thought again on this. Can we go to question number 10 again, ma'am, if it's possible?
Question
No,
10.
not 10, sorry. Question number 9.
Question number 9. Okay. Yeah, we can have
Yes,
discussion
ma'am.
on question number 9. Yeah.
Ma'am, in question number 9, we have said that question number 8 and A and B is the answer, correct?
Huh.
So now if we talk about C, just to have an understanding, am I on the same page or not? Just want to know. Point number C is more towards academic analytics, correct, ma'am?
Okay, yeah.
So if we talk about academic analytics, let's leave for time being learning analytics. So academic analytics also have the same process, descriptive, right? If we talk about descriptive, if we talk about diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive, right?
Right.
So now if we talk about prescriptive analysis, which involves the following, don't you think that, please clarify me if C number point will also considered into prescriptive, even if it is an academic analytics?
Yes, for academic it will be considered prescriptive, because we have to come up with some actions which will help administrators to attract more number of admissions, more number of students towards them. So
Right.
for
So what-
academics it will be prescriptive, but for learning analytics, since our end goal, the end game is different altogether, no? We want to improve the teaching learning and not the business
Yes,
point of
that's
view.
true.
Yeah.
That's thorough, ma'am. Just want to understand the prescriptive analysis point of view.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
So
you.
I hope I was able to clarify.
Ma'am,
Of course, ma'am, of course.
Yes, Dr. Suresh.
yeah, this is with reference to Dr. Ram Kumar's presentation
Huh.
of week 1 lecture session, which I started today and completed with the quiz questions, 10 quiz questions. What I am seeing with respect to the way the online teaching is happening, is not convincing me properly in one way. What is that way is, see, whenever the teaching learning process is going on, the contents of the topic need to be displayed on the screen all the time, and the speaker can be shown as a small window like what you are doing here.
Okay.
But I have seen in almost all of the videos, when the speaker is there, the screen is full and there is nothing at the background. So my mind is diverted to seeing him rather than looking at the slides.
Okay.
So the slide is more effective rather than the speaker. Speaker can be minimized, which is not there. So I would advise NPTEL people to ensure in the next videos, the speaker's picture or the way in which, as you have been presenting here, should be like that, rather than showing the speaker in full screen for 3 to 4 minutes continuously and he's speaking.
Right. So I think, yeah, I agree with you, but it's the NPTEL's format. I mean, they do the recording, right? So so I'll tell you how these sessions are recorded is as they have some tablet there for instructor to assess, and they'll see, and they will switch, their technicians will switch between the speakers video and what presentation they have, so it's on technician, and once that video is recorded, they will reuse that video for entirety of that course. So it happens very rarely that a particular course is re-recorded, and even in re-recording they will keep on switching between the presentations and the speakers, presentations and the speaker. So they say if they don't show the speaker face for the entire screen, there is no human contact. It will be just the presentation, and you may not feel that you may feel that there is a human contact which is missing. So when they show that speaker face completely for few seconds, they think that that point is seen as establishing a human contact with learners. Yeah, so NPTEL the audience of NPTEL is mostly the undergraduate students
I
and the
understand.
postgraduate students. So for them,
What you are doing is exactly what I expected.
yeah.
See, your window is at the bottom left, bottom right,
Yeah,
wherein
yes.
your face is visible to me. Even I can see, I am here, wherein you
Right.
can see me. And I am visible on the screen with, because most of the slides, they are running very fast. I'm unable to look at the content,
Right.
what I'm speaking. So looking at the content is also equally important along with the person who is speaking, like what is right now happening.
Right,
So that
So,
the technician has to be informed. See, I have been a college professor for the past 35 years, and I have retired, and I am learning this again. I have undergone at least 6 NPTEL sessions. Nowhere I have seen something of this sort.
oh really?
All the earlier NPTEL sessions were in
Yeah,
the
they
same
have just
format, but now this format,
they have
I'm
changed the
not
format.
impressed.
Yeah, maybe we
Please
can
convey
write.
this information
Sure,
to
I'll
the
try to pass
concerned
it.
technician or to the NPTEL people, whoever are there. And I have also given a feedback there online,
Right.
because it is not impressive at all. At the end of the day, I will say it is not impressive.
Right. So I think Dr. Richard has very good suggestion for you. He's saying that we can download the slides and you can view the slides parallelly and just hear the lecture, what is going on, and have the slides open in front of you. That's, I think, from your end, because we can't expect NPTEL to change the entire recording video during this course running, because during this semester IIT professors have their own physical courses running in IIT campus, so they will not be able to devote that time to record all these sessions again. So this may not happen during this run of the course. It may happen in future. So for this semester, you can maybe try Dr. Richard's remedy, that he's saying that you can download the slides, have a look at them, and
It is
try.
not concerned with the professor. It is basically concerned with the technician
NPTEL,
who is
yes,
doing
yes.
this job.
The NPTEL's
Because the
format.
professor has already delivered the lectures
Right,
for the
right,
entire term of 12,
Hmm.
12 chapters or so.
Right.
The technician is not doing this job
Hmm.
of minimizing the speaker's face at the
Hmm.
bottom right corner.
Yeah, they don't do it. Yeah.
See, it's
Yeah.
already recorded. Anyway, it is there. Cut and see. There are tools available. If they want my help, I can do it and give it to them.
Yeah, so maybe you can try writing to NPTEL people, and then maybe they can change the format. I am not sure about it. Yeah.
I have already given a strong feedback there regarding the way the speaker is visible for 3 to 4 minutes continuously, and the slide is taken out within 2 or 3 seconds also. I am unable to read also. See, your slide is continuously available here and you are visible to me.
Yeah, because I don't have technician to dynamically switch between my face and the slide, so I'm displaying the slide continuously.
No, and that is not at all required. Nobody is interested in seeing the person's face. The person's face is already visible at the bottom right corner, and the text is what is important for us.
Right.
Because some of the key points, maybe I will not download the content, I will note down. I have the habit of making a notes, the key points, and I will use those for answering the questions which are there at the end. Why I need to download all the contents when I am very serious about undergoing this NPTEL sessions.
Right. I agree with you completely.
And one more thing at the very beginning, I said when the teaching learning process happens, after every session of teaching in a class, there should be compulsory minimum of 5 keywords of that content to be asked to the students.
Yes.
All students should be able to write at least 5 keywords of the content that they have listened to the entire session. That is, or you can have Kahoot, which you can use in the classroom if students are allowed to use their mobiles.
Yes.
Or maybe in the corporates, they normally do this Kahoot usage of the app, wherein the questions are popped up and the answers are given by the audience. So it may not be possible in the typical school or the college. It can be definitely through asking keywords. So we can go on writing on the blackboard keywords which are given by the students. That would be the best way of taking the feedback from the students instantly.
Right. Yeah. Maybe we can use the course forum in a way you are suggesting. Yeah, we can make use of the course forum on the SWAYAM platform for this discussion.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was really nice. I really enjoyed the entire session, the way you have interacted with us. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, in upcoming week, we should be able to maintain, or we should be able to improve this discussion-based format, because when we talk, our concepts get cleared, and even I get to learn so many new things. Like today, I got to know about this how this thing works in corporate HR setup. That was really very good. Insight from this, my takeaway from this session, something new I learned. So it's not a one-way learning happening. I'm also learning many new things.
Yeah, we are all learners only.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
We are not experts still.
Yeah.
We are experts only in a narrow area of
and
subject.
we'll keep on learning for entire
Yes,
life.
yes. See, I have completed 35 years of teaching, and I am doing my MBA, and I am parallelly doing these NPTEL courses. And I am also doing this job of life insurance. See, I don't keep silent.
Yes, as we want discussions happening in this course. So yeah. Yeah, so I have one more question in the chat. What is the duration of this course in live class in IIT? So this is a complete 1 semester course in IIT. In our department, it is one of the compulsory courses. In first semester, we have to do this learning analytics course, and it runs for the entire semester. So it's a 1 semester full course in IIT Bombay. Yeah, 6 months, 1 semester. It's the same. Oh yeah, YouTube channel link. Okay, let me just where will it be? YouTube channel link I will post in the forum right now because it is there in the PDF. No, I'm not able to, like, what I do is I make a PPT, I convert that PPT into PDF, and I use that PDF to mark and make note, because I will be uploading this PDF also to a folder, and that folder will be shared with you all. So right now I don't have this link handy. Maybe I'll see if I can post from here, since I have joined from companion mode. Yeah, I can. So let me just type this text. No, I'm not able to, but I will post this, and next week onwards I will give you this this channel link in the chat box. I will share. Yeah. Oh, NPTEL portal, Dr. Richard, we will not be able to use NPTEL portal because we will be conducting this session for almost 2 hours every week, and we have been instructed by NPTEL to upload the screen recording on the YouTube only. And since even NPTEL now is hosting YouTube to using YouTube to host their videos, so YouTube, for this semester at least, NPTEL will be using YouTube. I think from next semester onwards they will be having their own this thing, because even they are thinking of moving away from YouTube. So for now these sessions will only be available on YouTube. I will
They
be
are already available on the YouTube.
No, this live session recording, not the lecture recording. Yeah.
Okay.
Like today's session recording, because I will be recording every session for those who were not able to attend the session live in person. So for their benefit, we will be recording this session every week and uploading that on YouTube. Yes, I will for sure be uploading this recording on the YouTube, and will be sharing the recording with you all. I will be putting this week's recording in, I will be sharing the link in the next week's live session also in the beginning, and next week I will keep all these things handy in the chat box for you all. Yeah, so today please excuse me for not having the links handy to paste in the chat box, but next week I will be pasting both the links, the YouTube channel link and the this week's recording video also. Yeah, so tomorrow I will be uploading today's recording on YouTube, and I will be pasting the link in the you will be shared the link through the announcement portal also on Swayam, through the announcement section, and through this thing. I think I will be posting in discussion forum also for our course.
Ma'am, just want to confirm, as this course proceed further, so in learning analytics, the course which is there, so we are going to do some practical thing as well, like machine learning or something, like what is required for this course.
So since this course is meant for people with diverse background, so there will not be exam on this, like it will not be project based or anything. There will be just MCQs type of questions in your final exam, but there will be some demo videos which are part of this thing, so you will be shown how to do this ML without using the coding, how to, so that is there, like.
So basically we are using the statistics for that.
So we are not using the core statistics for that. We are using statistics to understand how things work, for our understanding, when we want to how we can make the informed decision which model to which ML algorithm to use. For that we have basics of stats, not the very deep knowledge of statistics. It's fine. And this what I was saying, sorry, I forgot the second point. My eye went on the chat box.
Got your point.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what I was talking. Okay, so I'm gonna is there possibility to guess previous years? So the assignment which I solved today was previous year's assignment. This was not current assignment one. So every week we will be solving this previous year's assignment, and this PDF I will be uploading. This PDF will be shared with you every week, so don't worry, you will have access to previous year's assignment for all 12 weeks. Don't worry about it. And YouTube channel link right now, I am sorry I'm not able to give it to you in the chat box. Let me just see if I can go to YouTube. Oh yes, this is the link. Yes, this is my channel. Yes, thank you so much for sharing the link. Yeah, this is my channel. I'll be uploading video on the same YouTube channel. So thank you so much for sharing the link in the chat box for everyone's benefit. Thank you. Yeah.
Ma'am, do we get the exams sample also? Previous year exam samples?
No, we are not. We don't have access to previous year's exam sample, but we will be solving previous year's assignment, and your assignment and this thing is very similar. Like assignment questions and the exam questions are similar in nature.
Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, I don't have access to 2021's assignment for practice. I just have 2022's assignment, which is what we solved today. Like these questions are from last year's 2022. I don't have access to last year's assignment questions, so I will not be able to help you out there. Yeah. So if there are no more questions, then we can conclude this session. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm hoping to see you all next week as well. So let's meet next week and let's make the session as much interactive as possible. Huh?
Thank you so much, ma'am. I was like a little confused to join the session, but I thought that once let me see what exactly is there. And when I joined, I couldn't able to hold myself. I was so eager to know, and rather now I look forward to have more and more sessions. Thank you for giving such a wonderful insights and discussions.
Yeah, and
These are much.
and thanks to you also, we also got to know different things. And I would like to know your names. MS Khanna is not giving me that personal thing.
This is an email ID, so it picked up from that. My name is Michelle Khanna.
Okay, Michelle. Yeah, so it was good to talk with you. Yeah.
Same as you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to meet you all next week as well. Let's try to make these sessions as interactive as possible, and let's try to learn something new every week. Yeah. See you
Yes,
next
ma'am.
week. I'm ending this session for everyone. Bye. Good night.
Good night, everyone.